So we can find out how much something costs without asking sales. We can go and figure that out somewhere else. And likely we have some indication or some perception of what something costs, whether or not you told me or not. It may be right, it may be wrong. So we've talked a lot before about why you should be the one to tell that story and not somebody else who may not have the right idea or who may have a different idea.
Is that statistic like B2C specifically?
This is actually a B2B statistic. This is B2B. Because that's often what people think, and this is only B2B companies. So if you're B2C, it's even higher, just because there's no touch for the most part. So what we can see is the marketing is bleeding out. If there's a 50-50 split, or we think about marketing and sales sitting right there, working together, 50-50, marketing's been bleeding over into the sales side for quite a while, and they just keep bleeding over. And really, we're fools to think that there is a big difference in all of this at all. There are different things that need to be done to sell. Marketing, if you look at textbooks and if you look at how organizations are actually structured, marketing is the overall label sometimes. Some people call it business development, some people call it revenue, growth, whatever. Honestly, it doesn't matter. Somebody's doing the email stuff, and somebody's doing the phone call stuff, and somebody's setting the appointments, and somebody's making the appointments and showing up to the appointments, but we're all on the same team. And that's what we're trying to accomplish here with not only sales enablement, but sales and marketing integration, and all the things that we've talked about for a long time. There's this whole other thing over here that's been popping up called account-based marketing. And when I first started seeing this and hearing people talking about it like it was something new, I thought it was crazy. Because I said, well, isn't this just sales? Is anybody else with me when you first saw this? Just like, how is this different than sales? Well, one of the things we're going to talk about today is what is that? What is ABM? What is the traditional funnel? What is inbound? How do they work together? And all this. Now, this right here is and I'll explain it if it's kind of grainy, right? But this is a graphic that was produced by a company called Terminus. And Terminus basically invented the term ABM almost, or at least they carried it to popularity, because they sell a software that allows you to run ads against certain accounts, right? You identify a company that you want to do business with, and they allow you to run ads that'll show up in front of the people that work at that company, right? So if you think about that, it's kind of cool. Hey, I want to go after, let's say you want to sign Microsoft. I want to sign Microsoft's enterprise division. Well, I can target down to those people. And I can say, I want to show ads to those people. But that's just one part of it. One of the things that you'll see is that a lot of the software vendors, HubSpot is no different, are defining the methodologies that a lot of people are using. And it's better to take a more well-informed approach as far as what actually is happening in the industry, as opposed to just conforming yourself to the tools that someone has built so that they can sell you those tools and keep you upgrading on the path that they've got. Keeping a good mix of the kind of tools that you use to allow you to execute your own strategy, your own blend of these two things, is going to be the important thing. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. But what you're seeing here is you're seeing the inbound funnel, right? Awareness. Let's get people to find our stuff by creating a bunch of content, right? Interest. Well, once they've got our stuff, once they come to our website, let's have an offer or some sort of ebook or webinar or download that they can come and fill out a form or otherwise engage with and become more ingrained and most importantly become a lead in our database, so that our marketing manager can report growth in their marketing qualified lead count, which is a lot of times what people are measured on. Whether or not the qualities of a marketing qualified lead are right for the organization is always suspect and something that we should be looking at. Then there's consideration. Well, are they really looking at the pricing page? Are they doing this and that? How can we send them more emails based on what they're doing? A lot of this is passive. A lot of this is they're coming in, we're automating, we're building a machine around this, making sure that if they take an action, we can drive them further down the funnel. Now, only sort of near the bottom in this inbound philosophy does sales typically get involved if you take it at face value. And that's where Terminus came along and sort of, they call it flip my funnel. So if you see that, you can find a lot of content around flip my funnel. And so what they said is, hey, look, let's stop doing that. Let's identify the accounts that we want to target, that we would like to be customers. Let's show them ads. Let's get them to understand who we are. Let's go after them. And then there's this whole ecosystem of other things that happen after that. And this is where HubSpot has in particularly not done a great job up to this point. I believe that they're building some things to make that better, as far as how do I land and expand an account. When I come into an account, how can I grow that account? How can I become more ingrained within that organization, set different departments of that organization? How can I make sure that those people are becoming advocates on my behalf? There's all kinds of software tools that will allow you to do that. But that's this model. Pick a small subset of the people that you want to go after, and then go after those people. So you can imagine that these two are wildly different. We're putting out a tremendous amount of bait, in the ocean for everybody to see, and the people who find it to nibble on in the first approach. And here we're not putting out any bait at all, except for the people that we choose to put in that funnel. So you put them together and it makes a more cohesive square, right? Or is that a rhombus? What is that? If I just
It's a parallelogram.
It would definitely be a parallelogram. I like that beat.
I made that up.
Well, it sounded good enough to agree with you. This is from a friend of mine, Doug Davidoff at Imagine Business Development. Their firm is on the forefront of a lot of this stuff, and I like this slide enough. When I was on a recent Zoom call with him, that I stole a screenshot. Don't tell Doug. I think this is a really important thing to see. Pausing for a moment so you can sort of just run through it, and then we'll talk about it. What we're looking at here is, how do I determine how heavy on one end of the spectrum I go? Right? Do I just forget all of this content marketing we've been doing and just go all in with ABM and just say, oh, we're only going to go after these 20 accounts? Well, is that your total addressable market? What's the total addressable market? What does that typically mean when you're looking at?
Anybody who could buy from you?
Yeah, anybody who could buy from you, and that would be somebody who is really in your category that you're going after, and is a possible customer, right? If your only possible customers are Fortune 50, then do we really need to build the best blog on the internet and the biggest blog on the internet to try and have as much traffic as we could possibly get? Probably not. We can still use a content marketing approach alongside going after people, because we have to go after people with something. And that's where I think people fall down, is people go too far on the other side, and they forget that, hey, you can send an ad towards someone, but if there's not anything valuable on the other side, what does it mean? It's just an ad for a sales call. And I don't know about you, but that doesn't get me engaged in the process. It doesn't help me understand what you do or the value of what you do, especially if it's something that may not be otherwise relevant. Pete's got this weird thing going on with water filtration and all of this. I've had several conversations with Pete about what it is. I still can't explain it to anyone. I know it's cool, but I know that there's a lot to it. And if I'm in the market for that, I want to read more and more about it, and I want to understand it, right? So there is a desire for the content. I think there's also an aversion with a 100% inbound model towards talking about your product and talking about the stuff really related to your product. And there can be an approach where you integrate things about your product into your content. and how your product works, because these are questions people have and they need to know. So when we look at these, you have to decide where you are. Are you a mass market company? Is your solution right for just about anybody? Well, in that case, we can do a lot more inbound and spend a lot more time on automation and really just go after the people that are already in our funnel that we want to go after. Sales development is an approach that is basically, let's look at our prospect list, let's use the tools in HubSpot CRM to filter down to the type of company we want, and then let's say, I'm going to call these people today. I'll try and set an appointment for my sales reps. It's kind of what it is. There's more to it, maybe some email, maybe some nurturing with some email in there, but put real simply, that's it. Now, I don't know how many people in this room are just completely for everybody, or have such a wide approach, or such a wide market that you can really afford to do just that. If you've got anything that's difficult to explain, or you have to find the right person or the right type of company to buy, then we may be in number 2. There's probably not anybody in number 1 here. I don't know. Maybe there is. But I want to talk mostly about number 2. So I think we've covered a lot of what number 3 is in this room before, with sales enablement, making sure your sales departments understand what's going on. There's a lot of content around that type of thing. But with number 2, with targeted ABM, if we can identify, hey, look, here's a couple hundred accounts that we'd really love to have. These are the types of accounts, and we've got them physically on a piece of paper. I can print them out, hand it to somebody. This is the kind of approach we're going to talk about. And if you don't have that list, but you know that you could have that list, then you need to build that list. It's one of the things that I spent a lot of time last year on, really going after that list, because I can go over and just mass email everybody and continue to do the inbound approach. I kind of stepped down my content production level because I was having a lot of conversations with people that were never going to buy, because I was nurturing them towards a sales conversation. I'm a small company. A lot of times it's me. When you book a demo or schedule a sales call, it's me. So I can't afford to talk to everybody who wanted to talk to me at that current level of production of content. And so we had to narrow it down a little bit. So what we're talking about is really, it could work for a small company like mine. It could work for maybe a mid-market company like some of you folks work at. But persona is still involved. We've definitely got some sales development reps involved. But we're really looking at the long game. And we're also looking at, how can I target those people, maybe with ads, maybe with other things, other strategies over time. I want to talk a little bit about the landscape of how you can accomplish those things. I want to talk about the some tactics. I'm going to show you next something that you probably don't want to see, and then we're going to dig into a couple of specific things that you could do to get your wheels turning in HubSpot to try and get the ball rolling. There is already a ridiculous ecosystem around account-based marketing, and everybody has their own explanation of what it is. I wanted to start on the previous slide because that's really what it is. It's whatever it means to you. It's whatever it means to you. Start with your list of people that you've got. If we're integrating inbound, we're going to look at how we want to have some content being produced, but instead of 20 blog posts being produced a month and that being a metric that you want to hit, maybe you're looking to hit a metric that's more based on the types of accounts that you want viewing that content, and stepping down the production of the content to more and better long form type stuff, or a different format. But we could spend less time just blasting content, more time putting focused stuff around the needs of the people that we've got. After I see a slide like this, I always want to do this. And that's what a lot of people are doing. They're just like, oh, that's ABM, that's ABM. We're not ready to do that yet. They don't realize they're doing a lot of this stuff already. I have a couple of slides like this one that I have in almost every deck, and this is one of them, because I just think it's relevant in absolutely every case, and it's relevant here too. This is a Seth Godin post that I just couldn't stop reading. The first step is to invent a thing worth making, a story worth telling, a contribution worth talking about. Okay, that's a prerequisite for anything we're talking about here. All right, we're not talking about that. Second step is to design and build it in a way that people will actually benefit from and care about it. Okay, we're past that at this point. We need you to be there. A third one is the one everyone gets all excited about. This is the step where you tell the story to the right people in the right way. People take this quote and meld it around anything they want, right? But I've seen this type of piece of advice used around the mass marketing, inbound marketing content model, right? Let's create a bunch of content, let's put it out online, that's not necessarily just putting it in front of the right people the right way. You are putting it in front of the right people should they be in the situation that they're using Google to find that content. No question about that. But you're spinning a lot of cycles on people that are not qualified. So remember that. The last step is so often overlooked. The part where you show up regularly, consistently, and generously for years and years to organize and lead and build confidence in the change you seek to make. This is where I've seen the biggest change made in my clients' type of strategies, is the consistency and the longevity of the campaigns that we're targeting against the people in their funnel. A lot of people give up. They give up too early. Sometimes we have big deals going, they're brewing, and in the slightest sign of no, they shut off everything, or they allow the salespeople to say, "Oh, stop nurturing. I've got them in the opportunity funnel now." Well, that's not being a consistent shower-upper, right? So I like to look at everything sort of through that lens, because I think that tells a great story of marketing. Now, here are some commonly used tactics, and this is the most wide-spanning slide I could find around all the different things that one could do. Because a lot of them are, again, built by software companies who are seeking to simply do what their thing does. But this one does a really good job. Of course, on the end, we got digital. And what's missing here is the inbound piece. You've already got all this great content. But let's talk about what the digital stuff is there. Let's say you don't have a sales team or an event team. Well, we have content that we've been producing. We have good offers that maybe we're better. If we were able to show ads to the people who are in our target account list that drive more people to those offers, that would be good, right? All we're trying to do with inbound marketing is fish. Just putting out the bait of these offers. We're hoping that the target accounts come to us. Here we're saying let's put the target account. Let's fill the target account's eyeballs with our offers via these ads. Who's doing some level of inbound marketing, or I'm sorry, ABM in this one? Mark? You got to talk a little bit about it.
We're not really. It's been announced.
All right. So this is always an important thing that I've found, is that there's a kickoff meeting or an announcement that's made. And the way it's described is often the expectation that's set as far as what's going to be done or the outcome that's going to happen. So can you talk a little bit about what was said, just so that we can get a feel for it?
Yeah, it was a while back. It's part of our initiative to switch our marketing lens moving into 2018. That's why I was kind of like, our company's really good about like setting a vision and then not saying, "I'll do that tomorrow,"
Okay.
which I appreciate. Because it takes you a little time to like kind of get everybody up to speed. So I kind of forget your original question.
What do you see, or what was announced as part of the change?
Right. So we were kind of talking about this earlier. We're trying to identify who are our key customers and just stop getting the message out to people that actually could buy from us, but they're just not our favorite people to work with. And I don't mean like from a personal like buddy, but like, you know, like their spend isn't quite what we need it, or less, which makes things a little more difficult for our model and stuff like that. So we were given a list recently, actually, about probably 2 weeks ago, of well, we got a list of like 3,000 companies to start with, and we've since pared it back to about a little under 200 that we're going to turn our focus to. But then that's where that's where we're stuck, or that's where I haven't taken the next step as far as funneling this down to the guys that actually get their hand on the keyboard and go after things. Because at this point, I think the goal is, okay, take the company, let's just say, for example, it's like American Airlines or something, some large company that has like capital. Then you got to drill into, okay, who do we need to get in front of? And at these larger corporations, there's so many people involved in the buying decision, so we need to get in front of more than just the, CIO or procurement, or, so we got to get in front of all these people. So we got to identify all the helpful titles, and then identify the message to that specific title. And then by the time we send it, we're like, man, we did all this work. Or like the quick numbers I was running, I was like, man, we're doing all this work to send an email to like 10 people. We're gonna send like 200 emails to 10 people at a time. I'm like, whew. But it is so much work, or at least it feels like so much work. But then when I kind of step it up to the goal of, okay, let's identify the ideal customer. Let's say they're American Airlines. You get an American Airlines deal, in let's say 24 months it takes us to land somebody like American Airlines. Well, it's all worth it. But that kind of goes back to the longevity thing, when we've just started putting out good content at a somewhat consistent rate and haven't seen a ton of traction with that. What makes them think that if we don't land American Airlines in the first quarter, like quote unquote American Airlines in the first quarter, that they're gonna be like, love our marketing department? So there's this huge amount of pressure on us to make sure that we're it's getting them something that does feel like progress, even though it's not a sale. Because there's only so many times you can say, oh, well, we had, send it to 10 people, you identified them as the 10 people, and 9 people opened it, and they get excited about it. There has to be more engagement in that, otherwise, like, that's the type of update it's just not thrilling anymore to your sales leaders or your directors.
That makes sense. There is a need to show progress. You're going to spend more money sometimes in this case on a smaller amount. It's not volume based. Volume based, it's so easy. It's like you see the chart and it's just like, hey, yeah, it's up and to the right. It's better. Because we're all just monkeys. And we're just like, this is good, even if it doesn't even matter. I for a long time was chasing traffic and volume, and like I said, I was spending a lot of time on the phone. I look back, a lot of time in meetings with people that I know would never go. I was like, man, 10 more sales calls this week than last week. This is awesome. No, it's not awesome. Because I was wasting some of the most valuable time in our company on the phone, not out there building what I needed to be building. So, Mark, anything to add as far as what you guys are doing and how you're approaching this?
Yeah. From a tactic standpoint, we're doing on the right-hand side from an ad perspective, most of those. Not going the Terminus or demand-based route just yet. I've looked at a lot of Bombora data to get purchase intent and doing the basic retargeting, but trying to get to people that don't hit our site but hit our profile. From a social standpoint, it's all LinkedIn. So really basic things like in HubSpot language, looking at your, who's visited your site and figuring out from the URL what the company is, what are those companies' account names and LinkedIn, and going after them that way. The Bombora stuff is pretty interesting because you can get purchase intent around topics, but they'll only give you the account. So then pairing that with someone like Discover Org to fill in the contacts, you're guessing based on your profile who the people are. But in the middle column, going after them in a score-based approach. So the intent data comes with like a 0 to 100 score of how interested they are in these topics. So we'll start at 60 and above.
What I'm hearing you say, because you mentioned a lot of different software tools and stuff that you use to pull data from.
Yeah.
I think the most important thing that I heard you espouse is, yeah, I got to go to a lot of different places to get data and try and put it together.
Yeah, and then the full service model comes in. Another company we're looking at is Madison Logic, and I'm pretty sure that they are licensing the same onboard data that I get, but they're the ad platform that's going to do the work of figuring out who to put it in front of based on our profile. So maybe I'll pay free to do that and not have to do a lot of import-export from different places.
This is important because there are tools that will help you be able to just suck that stuff in and put it right into Salesforce or HubSpot or whatever it is, and not have to go and reinvent the wheel, figure out how you're going to do it, and not have to dedicate employee time. So it's an extra $800 a month. Well, let's look at what it's actually going to cost us to spend the time to do all that and replicate it. So it's worth looking at all of these and really looking at testimonials, talking to people like Mark who are using tools like that already. I'd recommend talking to a lot of them because we saw the slide. There's so many tools.
Yeah, but kind of backing up to haven't we always been doing this?
Yeah.
It also facilitated conversation with sales and management of how we're going to measure our spend, because right now it's all measured on top of the funnel lead gen. But classic ABM, could have been a billboard outside the major account pursuit you're going after, just to put something old school in front of them. We're helping the sales ops team with top 10 deals this quarter, and it took the conversation to say, okay, we're back into branding and awareness that's ambiguous and you can't measure with lead gen. We're going to put brand and check out this blog post or generic type offer in front of them. We don't think late stage opportunities are going to click on that because it's really a middle of the funnel type opportunity, but we just want to stay in front of, put the brand in front of the decision makers. And if we can identify 100 of them or so in LinkedIn, we'll just put that sponsored content in front of them. We'll never get credit if the deal closes, but we're still pursuing this tactic.
That's one thing that I found, and you mentioned this term earlier called air cover. If you do any amount of research around ABM, there's a concept called air cover, and it's just basically saying, hey, if sales is going to go in, let's make sure that we've got some fighter pilots out there sort of knocking down any other people who might be targeting those people by putting our own ads in place as they scroll their Facebook feed, as they scroll their LinkedIn feed, probably most easily. I don't know about most importantly, but most easily. You can just be there, measuring clicks. I tried to do that with a client. I kept getting terrible results. The clicks weren't there, but these accounts were booking appointments, and it was just they were coming back through different routes. They were seeing it, and it's more about staying top of mind. It's the same reason you've got 2 Black Oak commercials back to back for 15 seconds apiece. It's just repetition and ever presence. So these are all things to think about. As far as events and direct mail, you're going to see a lot of content around those two things, and I think that those are really great ways to do what you need to do, right? I think a lot of emphasis is being put on mailers and putting direct mail. I give it maybe 6 months to a year before the novelty of that is worn off. People are going to get tired of getting this stuff in the mail. You can build some cool. I remember I got a 6-pack of root beer from a company that was trying to pull me away from the software vendor we use. I think they were trying to snide me from HubSpot. They pulled me off the HubSpot partner page. And I remember that. I just told you about it. That was a couple of years ago. So that is one of the things that it does stick out. But more and more companies are going to start to use it. I think for a while there will be some effectiveness there. One thing that will not go out of style is owned events and being involved in events. So if you're looking at having an event and inviting people together, a small, if you're going to different cities, and a lot of your prospects end up being there, putting together a small mastermind or a cool happy hour or something like that. It doesn't have to be something really super expensive. Just get people together and have a reason to do it. then that's always a really nice way to go. So these are just, the whole theme here on all of this is we need to identify the people and then invite them personally to enjoy one of these things. Is it direct mail? Is it an event? What is it? It doesn't matter. A few bullets here. Because it's so complicated and there are so many things to think about with account-based marketing, we have to think about the lifecycle stage in HubSpot. And I'm getting a little tactical here. If in your CRM or automation system, whatever it is, if it's not HubSpot, the company property, there's always the contact property, right? I'm Chris. And then there's a company property, right? It's Think Handy, right? It's sitting right over here. That's its own thing. Now, multiple people work for the company. The company has its own life cycle stage. So you can have a setting in HubSpot where those life cycle stages are synced, where if I become a marketing qualified lead, then all of a sudden the entire company becomes a marketing qualified lead, and vice versa. So if you have that capability, and you can also turn it off, and that may be part of your strategy too, to sort of try and woo different departments. But once we know that, okay, I've got lifecycle stage built into HubSpot, so I can use these lifecycle stages to track and sort of walk people down the funnel. If we can assign the right lifecycle stages to the right place in our account-based marketing strategy, then we will have a much easier time of tracking everything in HubSpot without having to build 800 new custom contact properties. I still think there are custom contact properties you want to make, but using that lifecycle stage is a really great one. If you don't remember, the lifecycle stages in HubSpot are automated and you can't change them. It starts out at the very top. If they subscribe just to the blog through the native blog subscription thing on HubSpot, it's subscribing. If they fill out any form, they automatically put you as a lead. But then there are two upgrades you can make to lead. One of them is marketing qualified, and one of them is sales qualified. Right? You don't have to use those, but a lot of people do. I suggest that we look at how you can utilize those particular ones in our funnel here. From there, lifecycle stage goes on to opportunity, customer, and then evangelist. And I would argue that evangelist is a property of someone who is in your funnel somewhere else, not a property all itself. So I would not ever use that particular one. So knowing that I can have a lead, a marketing qualified lead, and a sales qualified lead as accounts, companies, accounts, whatever you want to call them. So a marketing qualified company, a sales qualified company, it's starting to make a little bit more sense, because if somebody comes in and they filled out a form, then their company is now just a regular old lead company. But marketing, through the measurements and qualities that we set, decides that they've hit the bar to become a marketing qualified account, then they've reached the threshold with which we can measure. And I think that's, in order to keep these programs going in our companies, that's going to be really important. Deciding what to measure. Are people progressing down the funnel? And are people continuing to engage with our stuff? How do we decide? How do we decide what a marketing qualified account is? I don't know. Mark, do you have any anecdotes about how you're measuring engagement or anything like that as far as...
We measure marketing qualified two different ways, which is a definition problem.
Yes.
Lead score is one, and then if the business development team creates an opportunity, it's a marketing qualified opportunity.
Okay.
So either score or identified opportunity.
Got it. So lead scoring is also there. Actions people take on the website are also there. But if you think about this, think about the strategies we're employing. We're going out And we're saying, well, we're going to go after these companies that exist out in the world that are already in our database. If we put them in there as a lead, right, we just have them in there as the native lead, no label on top, then those should be people, and I would argue that if you're going to adopt some account-based marketing type stuff, those should be just what it sounds like. That should be lead companies, right? A lead is not, the definition of that should not be that they have raised their hand and said that they want to do anything. It doesn't even need to be that they filled out a form. It's just that they're in the system. They're a lead, right? You can have other qualifiers for whether or not you send them email. So not everybody in your database should be getting a blast, right, from you. So that's how you sort of can separate those two things. You say, we only send email to people who have opted into X, Y, and Z, or who have filled out certain forms, or we have manually put in some sort of a list. But if we can just make that lead fair game, that lead lifecycle stage fair game in HubSpot to use for whatever we want, all of a sudden we've got a great way to have a lifecycle stage where we can watch people progress down the funnel. So if we put in Microsoft and HP Enterprise, it's two companies, right, that we're trying to go after, then we may show them ads on LinkedIn. We may send them mailers. We may invite them to events. And we can come up with scores and different qualities and other checkboxes and other things that we can let people trip in HubSpot in order to say, you know what, they've taken enough action down this road to where they've shown enough engagement for sales to pounce on it. A lot of times in account-based marketing, really what you're looking for is a sign of life, some sort of response. You're not looking for a form fill, you're not looking for an event RSVP, although that would be incredible. We're just looking for, are they even opening our stuff? Are they repeatedly opening our stuff? Are they clicking and looking at our website? Are they, or are they in the other camp, which is just completely ignore, right? The default state is ignore, right? But if they've met some sort of threshold, and you could say, hey, look, these guys are ready, then you could probably say, all right, we've qualified these people to have sales go after. And then your strategy sort of shifts. It's not the inbound play where it's like what we were looking for help with when you visited our website. It's more of a, hey, it's just a complete cold call at this point. But it's an assisted cold call, and it's a more of a warm cold call. We know that you've probably seen some of our stuff out there. So I figured it was time to reach out because you're bound to become a customer at some point. Yeah, just something along those lines. So the sales play has to change, and so does our marketing strategy as far as how we code these things in CRM, because we have a limited tool set. Unless we want to buy every single software product in the world, then we're not going to be able to make it work. So I started writing these bullets based on some notes, and the thing with giving advice during this and telling you exactly what to do is that it's going to be different for every company. So what one really needs to do, if you're in a role where you have some say over how things could be coordinated or whatever it may be, sit down with whoever's in the sales version of you, and just two people sitting in a room saying, hey, look, this is what we're really looking to do. We want to give you more help during the sales process. We're looking at doing maybe some events. We're looking at doing some ads for the people that we know we're going after. So let's make sure that we're building a shared account list, that we always are in sync on that. When things change, we all need to know. The biggest disconnect is people don't use their CRM and tell each other what's going on. So just getting on the same page as far as where we are on different accounts is a huge win. Once you're past that, you can get to some of the other tactics. So this is a 101 kind of talk here, but that's probably the most important meeting you can have to sort of set the stage. Not a big, as much as kickoff meetings are important to the success of a widely adopted program, the two meetings, just the two people in one room, is going to really help. And then look for metrics that matter. This is something that we identified, and I was just looking for something a few months ago, that what is a big indicator that someone is going to be more more engaged, right? So I looked at the accounts that we had targeted. This is just at my company. I looked at the accounts that we had targeted, and I said, well, if they used website chat when they came to the website, because these are all leads. So everybody who we had identified at a target account and had come to the website and in some way become a lead, I wanted to see how engaged were they. So I started measuring average number of page views per visit. And did they use Drift or chat on the website? Well, if they did use chat, they viewed on average 8.3 web pages on my site. If they did not, half. So I am an evangelist for website chat, partly because it's part of what we do. But I'm just telling you, I'm seeing stuff like this across the board. And it's one of the things that was not on that slide, and it needs to be. You can, in Drift specifically, and in other tools, HubSpot's Conversations tool that they announced at Inbound just recently, they're going to be bringing that to the HubSpot platform. It'll probably be much better than what you see in their Sales Pro tool today. This is becoming more of a thing, and if you know that you can target down to just certain people that can even see your chat, which you can, I don't personally do that, but a lot of companies that I consult with do, then we can say, you know what, we're only going to open up the capability to chat with us to the type of account we're after. And that sort of changes the game, because then what we know is that people stay twice as long when they're chatting. Part of it's just due to the fact that they're chatting, and so they're just moving around and checking things out. You're keeping them on the line. So this, I have been watching this metric for a little while. It hasn't changed. It has stayed about double. And I went and looked at a client account, and it stayed about double. So I would find a metric that you can look at, because this is something I could walk over to sales and say, hey, look, this is something that's working for us, because people are staying longer. And then you can tie this metric, like people who stay longer on the website and view more pages on the website are more likely to close. You've got to connect a lot of dots here. It's like building a train set. We got to figure out how are we going to build as many different roads to setting the appointment, which is what our job is. Our job is not to close the sale. Our job, unless you're in sales, our job is to get the audition, not to get them the part, right? We've got to get them to the appointment. So that's going to be the number one thing that you can do, is go in and find a metric like that. Before we close, and then I'll stick around for Q&A, but I know we're coming up against the end of the time. Upcoming events, I have a browser tab window available here. I wanted to show you real quick. There's an incredible Chrome extension that just kills all of your tabs that you're not in, and it saves a ton of battery. So you should be using that Chrome extension. It is called, seriously, this is maybe the best thing that you'll do all day. Let's see what this is called. The Great Suspender. It just goes and kills them. It's the best. November 14th, building conversion baths that actually convert. We're going to talk more about that. 19th, we're going to talk about Facebook ads to power your inbound program, and we're going to do ABM on this too. We're going to sprinkle in some LinkedIn as well. And then on January 25th, we've got Juliana Nicholson coming from HubSpot, and I think this is going to be